Mr. President, I came to the floor before I heard the announcement that apparently we're closing in, thankfully, on something as yet, which I don't have all the details of yet, and so I can't simply say, hooray, this is exactly what we ought to do. I think neither side's going to be able to say this is exactly what we wanted to do. But in recognition of the fact that we are careening now, hours are ticking, hours away from a devastating impact on Americans all across the country. Every taxpayer. Senator Lieberman announced and gave statistics relative to the impact on the average family in his state. And the same is true for Indiana and all 50 of our states. To impose the massive tax increases which will occur on every taxpayer at midnight tonight without addressing that is just simply unacceptable. And while it's hard for a lot of us to swallow how little we did in addressing the larger fiscal issue in this country, but in order to get past this imposed deadline on something I did not vote for, did not support because I could see it coming to this end, and it was absolutely the wrong way to legislate, and the wrong way to govern, pushing us toward this fiscal cliff, laying that dark cloud of uncertainty over every business in America, every household in America, everyone who had any interest in investing or was trying to plan for the future kept saying, I can't make a decision, I can't make plans, I don't know what you're going to do. Are we going to go over the cliff? Are my taxes going to rise? Are regulations going to increase? What is the future? And even if the future is uncertain, if it remains uncertain, I can't plan ahead. If it's bad certainty, I can work around it. I might not like it, but I can make the adjustments necessary. And so we have a stagnant economy as a result of all this. And so I'm hoping that when we learn the details of what we finally arrived at, which we'll be learning very, very shortly, I'm hoping that it's something that we can swallow hard and accept, knowing that this fiscal cliff is nothing compared to the real fiscal cliff. The real fiscal cliff is the continued excessive borrowing and spending of over $1 trillion a year that is driving this country into a serious fiscal situation for the future. And it's not just something our children and grandchildren are going to have to pay for years down the line. It's something that we're all paying for now. It's something that is keeping people from getting back to work, keeping companies from expanding. We have an obligation to our generation and all future generations to address what I believe every American who's paying any attention whatsoever, and everyone certainly in this body and in our corresponding house down the hall, understands, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative, it's simple math. And it's not algebra, it's not calculus, it's third grade math. You cannot raise $2.2 trillion a year and spend 3.5 or 3.4, or it's literally, we've added now approaching $6 trillion in just the last 4 years. And it's unsustainable, and it's going to hurt everybody, and it's hurting our economy right now. That's the real cliff. That's the cliff that now we have to continue to address. That's the cliff that we were hoping to address with the leverage of this situation. But we're coming up with something very, very short. I would ask, Mr. President, I didn't realize that we were under a time limitation. Are we under a time limitation? We are. I would ask unanimous consent for just.
You have 2 minutes left, sir.
All right. Thank you. I saw some angst on the face of the chair, and I thought my time was up. Let me just say this to my colleagues. Many of us who watched the President's press conference, no, it wasn't a press conference, the President's speech, thought we were seeing a rerun of something that took place during the campaign. We've all been watching a lot of football, And for Republicans to sit and listen to that and watch it, it reminded me of the taunting that goes on when somebody on the other team stops you cold, stands over you and taunts. You know, it got so bad the NFL now has made it a penalty, and they throw the flag. It's not something that we would expect out of the leader of this free nation. It's not statesmanship. It's not leadership. It's in your face. And it was dismissive, it was insulting, it was belittling, and in the end, it was sad. Now, the natural reaction is get angry and push back and get revenge, but that's not where we are, and that's not where we need to be. We need to set this aside, and it's like the coach tapping us on the shoulder pad and saying, what was done speaks for itself. Don't stoop to that level. So we need to set that aside now and go forward in the interest of the future of this country, in the interest of America, in the families and people that we represent in our states. And look at this very carefully, and every one of us is going to say, we haven't begun to address the spending, we haven't begun to address what we need to do. That has to be our charge in 2013 relentlessly. And I would say, Mr. President, I think probably people on the other side of the aisle were embarrassed also by that speech. It was a campaign speech, and the campaigns are over. The president doesn't need to run for office anymore. It's time to lead. And so let's all get together. We have been working together. I would ask that for one more minute.
Without objection.
I want to say this, to make a laughter out of this, to ridicule it, it addresses all of us, because I've been working with senators across the aisle, and they've been working with us. Many of us, we all take this very, very seriously. This is not a joke. This is not something to make fun at. This is not something to politicize. This is something to rise above politics and do what is right for the future of America, even though it's difficult because it's not doing what many of us would like to do. But we've been working together, Democrats and Republicans, and I can name dozens of Democrats that think this is a serious matter, that have been working hard for the last 2 years to try to address it, as frustrated as we are on our side. So let's understand that this is not a game. This is the real thing. And let's work together to do what we can do, and then continue to address the real issue as we go forward in 2013. With that, I yield the floor.